Hey guys, what's going on? So today I'm going to give a video all about how 70% to almost 90% of traders quit during a drawdown despite having a profitable strategy and never getting to that point where they actually realize it's a profitable strategy. And this is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be really relevant to you guys. I know it's relevant to me and most traders that I've seen in the industry over the last decade or so. Anyway, before we get into all of that, if you don't know who I am, my name is Russell Barber, and I've been testing hundreds of alert services now for years. If you'd like to see my top 10 services for 2025, just check out the link in the description below, and it'll take you to an article about the top 10 services for 2025. Before we get going with this article that I just wrote, here is a link to learn how to win 90% of your trades in 90 seconds. This is a strategy which is mathematically based. So it's kind of relevant to today's topic. If you have a mathematical advantage over the markets, you should stick with that strategy regardless. And this is a course that teaches you a strategy or multiple strategies with an edge, a mathematical edge that over the long run does prove to be profitable. So definitely put your email in and your name and you'll get sent the course. The link will be in the description below. Okay, so let's get started with today's trades idea, not trades, today's article. So I wrote this morning, and I think it's because I've seen a few drawdowns recently, and it's something that's been on the top of my head. So basically, I did some research, and I found numerous articles that support the idea that 70% to 90% of traders give up on a drawdown, and there's always drawdowns in all these strategies that we look at, whether it's an alert services or your own service. And basically, it's it's pretty it's pretty interesting. I'll show you a real life example in a few minutes as well with the particular alert service that we're actually launching tomorrow. Data from that, so that'll be really interesting. So if you're interested in the spy service that me, Phil, and Lance are launching tomorrow, you might want to keep watching this video as I'm going to start to give you a sneak peek into the strategy a little bit and why you should come to the webinar, which is tomorrow night at 7. Anyway, what's found out is that there's a growing body of behavioral finance research combined with extensive anecdotal evidence from trading communities, from alert services, and brokerage data that indicate that most retail traders tend to abandon trading strategies prematurely. And so what they find is that this usually occurs during drawdowns, which is not too surprising, right? If your strategy's going down, if you just keep losing and losing and losing, you're going to want to give up, right? And from somebody who's run a service or multiple services for years now, I see this all the time. And you see it in a couple of different ways. The first one is people want free trials to things. Now, a free trial really doesn't help at all because what you're looking for is a long term edge. So if you join a strategy for a week, you may lose money, you may make money, or you might break even. You don't have no idea which. And the problem is a week's not long enough to judge whether it's a winning strategy or not. So for a lot of the services that I help run, I don't even offer these trials anymore because they're completely pointless. All that happens is it adds more admin to the people running it. They have to manage the subscription, all that stuff. And it costs money to actually have people join. Not much, but it adds up if you're running a lot of free trials. So that's why a lot of these alert services you won't find free trials for because you'd literally have to give them a trial for a year for them to fully understand the service. And honestly, from this article that we're about to go through, they probably don't last a year anyway. The average in the industry is people will start a strategy, like an alert service, and they'll only last 3 months at it. And that's usually because of drawdowns or temporary underperformance. Not necessarily, sometimes the strategy might just suck, and it's very difficult to distinguish whether it's a drawdown or if the strategy doesn't work. And that's the problem. It's the emotional stress and the fear of further losses and the lack of confidence that overrides the discipline needed in the decision making, whether it's your own strategy or an alert service strategy, that'll keep you sticking at it. So rather than sticking to well tested plans, many traders just succumb to the short term pain and they'll move on to another strategy altogether. And I see this all the time. People will sign up for a service, give it a week or two, conclude that it's nonsense or it doesn't work, despite the fact that often long-term data is presented, which is the case with all of the services that I'm running at the moment. We've got long-term data suggesting that you can be profitable with these strategies. And again, I'm going to show you some of the data which we're going to be displaying tomorrow night as we launch SPY ATM alerts, which is daily SPY trades. And it's going to be every day at 10:30 Eastern time. We're going to do a SPY simple buy or call puts or calls. And basically, it's really simple. It takes about 20 minutes to do, same time every day. And I'll show you an example of why you shouldn't really put any sort of faith in a free trial. I've had a few people ask for a free trial already, but I'm going to go into detail about why a free trial would be completely pointless with this or most strategies, to be honest. So here are some of the key supporting insights. Loss aversion. So traders feel the pain of losses roughly twice as strongly as the pleasure of gains. So this has been well known for a long time. If you lose money, say $10, it feels, well, not 10, let's use a bigger number, $1,000. So if you lose $1,000, it hurts more than twice the pleasure you get from making $1,000. So this leads a lot of people to abandon the strategies even during natural unexpected drawdowns. And so I'm seeing this in all the alert services that I'm helping out with or promoting that I also trade myself. And pretty much all of them, and it's like four, I think now, have reported that because of drawdowns, people are just quitting and that they're missing out on all the gains that then come sometimes days later, suddenly like huge gains that outweigh the drawdowns. And so this is a problem because traders overweight recent performance and forget that you're looking for a long-term edge. And again, I'm going to show you why that's important with real data from this new SPY ATM system in just a minute. So again, this point here is an industry. Prop firms and experienced mentors report that most traders fail not because the strategies don't work, but because they don't stick with them long enough to see that edge play out. And again, you see it in various trading communities and education services. 80% of new traders give up within the first year. I would say a lot give up within the first few months. Um, Usually during a tough streak, even if the system is statistically sound. And I think this is because of lack of confidence. Even if you're shown the data, sometimes they don't believe it. Sometimes they think the data is faked or whatnot. So alert services add another edge, another problem to the system. If you have your own strategy that you backtested, maybe you'll do a little bit better sticking to it than following like somebody who actually has made a lot of money doing it, but you just don't have that confidence in them. So it's all psychological, right? The psychological pressure during drawdowns. Traders often misjudge normal drawdowns as system failure. They jump to new strategies, system hopping. I see this all the time. I'm going to try this one now. I'm going to try this one now. Okay, a month went by, or I did a week of this one. I didn't like it. It wasn't, I didn't make money. I haven't paid for my subscription fee yet. I'm jumping to this system and quit due to emotional exhaustion. So the conclusion for this really is up to 90% of traders quit. So you know how you say like they say that 90% of traders fail? This is one of the reasons, right? That 90% of traders fail because they quit or change their strategy during a drawdown, or they let it influence their mentality. For example, after a slight drawdown, you might see a recovery and they stick through the drawdown. And then what they do is they start cutting their winners short and letting their losers ride. And then they actually are no longer following the strategy and they do legitimately lose money. So the strategy you just can't trade the strategy itself. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the event tomorrow night, and I'll show you some of the data that we're going to show, not all of it, but just some of it. And it's called SPY ATM Alerts, and basically it's daily alerts on SPY options, so simple calls and puts every day at 10:30 Eastern time. There will be days it's missed because the conditions aren't quite right. And this is run by Phil from 0DTE SPX Income Spreads. And it's a strategy he's used to hedge these spreads that he does. And he's going to show how it's worked really well to hedge the drawdowns, which again, everybody hates the drawdowns, shakes a lot of people out. How this actually mitigates a lot of the drawdowns in his strategy. So what I'm going to show you is the account growth, which has been 100% on his account in 2025 with a win rate of 78%. So decent win rate, not super low, not super high, just a decent win rate. Huge account growth though in the first 5 months of 2025. And this is going to be a live webinar tomorrow, Tuesday, 20th of May. So hopefully you're watching this video in time. If not, I'll leave a link to the webinar in the description below and you'll see it on replay. You might be too late to get any launch discounts that we do on it though. And it's at 7 p.m. Eastern, so tomorrow night. So in order to make sure you don't miss this, make sure you subscribe to my channel. That's the best thing to do because you'll get notified when the live goes alert. If you don't want to do that, hit the notify me button. Again, the link to this webinar placeholder will be in the description below. And basically, you'll be able to chat to us while we're doing our live presentation, which will be really good. So definitely check this out. So let's have a look at some example of data. So this is data that I plotted from Phil, who's launching the SPY ATM alerts. Now, if you look at these points here, each point represents a trade. The y-axis is profit. It's arbitrary because it's just based on like one contract. It's unlikely that you just be trading one contract, but you can see what happened here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15 data points. I'll try and zoom in a little bit. 15 data points in this first section. That's 3 full trading weeks. So if you'd asked for a 1 week trial, a 2 week trial, or even a 3 week trial at the start of the service, you'd be pretty disappointed, right? You'd have ended up negative, sideways for a while, then really negative, up a little bit, and then, oh no, it's going down again. That's 3 full trading weeks of data. And a lot of people would not be able to handle that. They'd say the strategy doesn't work. Let's just give up. Or they changed something about it in order to try and make it more profitable for them. But look what happens if we start to move along here. That was just an initial drawdown. And we start to see very consistent upslope here. This is really beautiful. All the way up. And then we have another drawdown. Now, most people can handle a couple of trades in a drawdown, so this drawdown is not nearly as bad as this consistent downtrend. So you have another drawdown here, and then kind of sideways a little bit. If you plot this part during your time in the service, you'd probably be happy with it because you'd be up significantly. As we keep going here, we hit another big winning streak all the way up to here, which is really cool. All the way up. So everybody who got shaken out in those first 3 weeks, or in this 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, to another like 2 weeks here, if they decided, they joined here or whatever, they'd be pretty disappointed and they'd miss these long win streaks. You can see this just keeps going and going. Now, again, I think people can handle a couple of little downturns. The problem is everybody expects this all the time. And for some strategies, that's possible. You might just get one losing trade here or there. Most strategies have typical drawdowns. And you can see we ended 2024 all the way up here. So if we zoom out, this is real data from the 2024 ATM spy alerts that we're launching tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And that's from, so it's not 2024, this is actually 2025. Sorry, I think I misspoke there. So this is 2025, up 100% on his account in 5 months. But you can see some of the drawdowns weren't too bad, but there'd be enough to shake out some people. But that's not even like the worst case scenario. Sometimes you'll see plots that look more like, let's see. And I talked about this a little bit in my last video, actually. For a strategy that is, for example, credit spread strategy, you'll often see lines that look like this, and then there'll be a big loss down like this, and then up a little bit more. This could be these could be a lot of trades in here though. So you're winning, 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 winning. You think it's going to go on forever, and then you have a big drawdown, and then it goes up again, and another big drawdown usually, and it can feel like you're making no traction or even losing a little bit. But all it takes is a nice long winning streak. And you can see the uptrend is very slow here. All you need is a decent win like this, and it's evident in some of Phil's data. Then the losses suddenly don't hurt as much, right? So you might have the same thing again. The problem is people give up on some of these down slopes. When it goes sideways and they get impatient. Or even you might have several losses. It goes down like this. And then you start the uptrend again. Anyway, you get the idea. It's very rare that you'll just get a straight line, you know. And sometimes, and I remember when I first started trading, there was a guy called Super Trades, and he literally would be like this for like most of the year, and then it'd go like that towards the end of the year. He would just hit like he would try, cut his losses short, cut his losses short. Like it might be more like this, and nobody could actually hold this long. They would just this would be like the start of the year, and this would be like November. So and then he would hit just a huge winner. But you have to be in the game to win it, right? Because if you give up on this long 6 month streak of not making anything, you can't make that $1 million on the one company that you invest in that makes a huge, huge, huge spike in your profits, and then you're up a level. Maybe you lose kind of big on one, but you're still up. So I think it's really important that people have realistic expectations on what to expect with alert services and their own trading strategies. And I hope that's kind of helping people step back and think, you know what, maybe doing 1 week trials is not really that helpful. Maybe sticking with services for 3, 6, 9 months or more. If you're having problems like you're losing confidence, try sizing down a little bit. And I know it'll take longer to make up for losses if you're in a drawdown, but at least you'll be more comfortable and less likely to abandon the strategy, which is the number one risk, is you abandon the strategy before you have a chance to let that long-term edge play out. Anyway, hopefully it's helpful. Make sure you check out the description below for all the links, and I'll talk to you guys soon.